Hello everybody, it's been a minute since I've done a video. The last one was about camping. Then I lost my phone and lost all my footage, so the next like 6 videos I was gonna do, gone with the wind. But now that No Coast is back on the blocks, it's time to get a car ready for said event. So I need to figure out what's going on with the S13, but in doing so, I also realized I have literally never done a video on this car other than the Scotch and the Beers from Formula D. The last one we did was in 2015. So I'm going to do a quick walk around of my 1989 Nissan 240 SX because I've never done it and I want to get it in this iteration because it's going to change after this. Well, maybe not right after this, but probably after No Coast. So we're going to do the fuel system and I'm not sure what else, but we're going to try to get this thing done now that we know No Coast is in the book. So here we go. Let's get started. Like I stated, it is a 1989 Nissan 240 SX. Came with the single overhead cam. Bought the car on jack stands from a guy that had it in his garage for $500 way back in 2011, right when I knew I was going to possibly build a chassis for FD. I got my license in 2012 and started work on this. There's the FD tech stickers from 2014 and 2015. So it did pass tech. I've always had status seats in until halo seats were mandated in FD. And then I had to change those things out for haloed seats. And then after I stopped doing FD, Status started making those. And now Status is no longer a thing. And that is unfortunate, but hopefully we'll be on board with PRP. Let's see, this was my walkie-talkie holder for when we actually cared about racing. That wire dangles down there and plugs into my helmet. This is the push to talk for when we did that. We actually used the whole system. Everything still works. We used everything at the LZ World Tour that we did out in Bakersfield. Everything on the inside other than the seats is almost exactly the way that it was when we built the car in 2013. So it is quite old at this point. Rear mount radiator, those are the Nakaducks to get that back there. I still have all my long acre gauges. Everybody was like, it's a motorcycle stuff. And I was like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it's worked absolutely fine. I got my lots of play steering shaft. That's been like that from the beginning. So that's something that maybe we can try to address. After we did the LS swap, obviously we had to go to drive-by-wire. I put this in because I started melting all of my shoes, and you can see that it's starting to melt through the actual carpet itself. I still have the PBM residuals. Eventually I'll get that traded out for a GKtech, but the PBM one broke at some point, and now this is just a 1/2-inch extension that we welded and duct taped to make it soft and supple. It is on a Willwood Master. We do have the ARC panel, which is on its last legs. That was also put in 2013. We have had to rewire, redo, remix, remake pretty much all of the circuits. So none of those stickers are correct. So if you wanted to start the car, you'd have to turn on the wipers and or the retard button and or anything else. Got my little fire extinguisher mounted down there. The doors, hollow AF, but still, I learned my lesson the first time. Do not take this out if you're planning on gutting your doors. Leave all that stuff. Leave all that stuff. The cage will fit even if it's NASCAR style where it sticks out so you don't hit your elbows on everything. We flocked the dash, so it is still a very cracked dash. but we just flocked right on over it. Got the AEM air fuel gauge. I believe it's the safe one. I do have the S1 sequential shifter in there. So it takes your regular gearbox. That's a T56 Magnum down there. That thing has been a godsend. We put that in when we swapped to the V8 and it has been fantastic. No adapter plates, no nothing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, moving right along. Exterior wise, stock mirrors. I have Origin Type 3 fronts, doof skirts, doof front bumper, which has been through absolute hell. I got bricks headlights, the BRI-XX. My friend Mike from Arizona knocks those out. I'm very good at testing things, and so these ones have held up quite well. I think they're on their like third iteration of them. I don't even know what kind of hood that is, but it's a vented one. And I did have to cut it for said supercharger, which I'll go over in a second. I powder coated these back in 2013, so I still can't believe they're yellow at all, which is kind of cool. That sticker's been on there since the very beginning. That's also kind of cool. I have Origin Type 3 overs, but soon to be switching to the doof LFCs. So super stoked on that because the rear end of this car got cunt punted at the LZ World Tour by Odi Bakchis because he said I was going too slow, which admittedly I was. It's a 400 horsepower car at that point, and I was going slow, and he booted me right on off the course. No harm, no foul there. That's drifting. It's not a competition car. It's been a party car for a very long time. All plexi. Part of the things that we want to fix is the fact that you do have to remove this to get to this, to take that off to get to the radiator. It's not very good for quickly changing anything. Got my abo tails, put the sticker on the wrong side apparently, but that's okay. I'm Gaijin. Cut a bunch of holes in to exhaust the fans. Have a water sprayer. The fuel tank is under there. That's getting replaced with Radium stuff. It's still Radium fuel system, but it's the old school one. I don't think it'll focus on that. But I'll open that up in a second anyway. So it's still the metal trunk. Taillights are hanging in there, but by a hope and a dream. Doof rear bumper. I got my Kansai wheels. Gone through a couple of different versions of those. I really like these. I believe they're called the tandems. And I like the Rokus too, so maybe I'll be switching up to the Rokus for the next round. I had those on the IS and I really liked them. Otherwise, the radiator stuff goes through the inside of the car, and so it was done by Foxy from Car Crafters, who worked for Jim back in the day, and he made the most beautiful covers for all of that so that it would pass tech. It's off right there, but that used to have a cover on it as well. And that goes all the way back through there. He did some amazing metal work with that. So I think that's it. Oh, Evo 8 Brembos. Way too much braking power for this thing. And I don't have a bias adjuster on here because I just never put one on, even in FD. Yeah, the back, which you could see, there's not really a whole lot back there. The battery box. I had a spare battery back there. You could see some of the piping for the water spray setup that I have that goes onto the tires and the radiator. More of the Nakaducks, glass. I think that's about it for the outside of this thing. Let's pop the hood and I'll talk about the old engine. Other pro tip, if you break the hinges, your hood just goes all the way up and it sits there. If it's windy, don't do it. So this is the heart. When I was doing FD, it was an RB28. Ill-fated, lasted maybe half a season, back to an RB25. Nothing but problems. You can watch the Whiskey Garage Chronicles for that. After FD, took the RB out, put an LS2 in. On the test day, blew the LS2 up, rod bolts went, hollowed that motor out. Big bummer. Replaced it with an iron block, had a Collins adapter fail with my CD09, and basically totaled the car. It pushed the frame rails out, it cut my firewall in half, it knocked the gas pedal 90 degrees, it broke my diff, it broke both axles, it broke the drive shaft, it broke the bell housing into about 5,000 pieces, it broke the block in like 8 places, and then a piece of the bell housing went up and cut a fuel line, and then it all caught on fire. So that was a super fun thing to try to come back from. My buddy Cody re-welded the firewall back together. We put the gas pedal mounts back where they were supposed to be, and I decided to never use an adapter again. That was an unfortunate thing. It's happened to a lot of people, and just don't do it. If you can get a real transmission behind your car, put a real transmission behind your car. So now T56 Magnum with a G-force bell housing made it up to an LQ4, which is the same motor that we went through the last time, but this time with a different transmission, so I didn't have to use an adapter. It does have a spec twin disc in there, which has been in there since 2018. Probably need to change that out at some point. They've been along for the ride since I've been doing this, so can't say enough good things about spec. That clutch has done nothing but prove me right time after time after time, because this car got driven a lot post having the RB in it. The guy that used to run Sandia Speedway, his name's Charlie. He actually said, you know what? You've been having a lot of motor problems. I'm going to build it for free. We put Eagle rods, Eagle crank, pistons. I don't know what the pistons were, but they were all cheap. It was the cheapest build you could possibly do with built internals, with the intention of putting a blower on. Got sponsored by Magnuson way back in 2016 or 2017. They sent me a blower, and I never wanted to cut my hood, and so I never put the blower on. So I've had the blower since then. Went to LZ World Tour. The Magnuson rep was like, I had just covered the Magnuson logos with duct tape because I was embarrassed that I didn't have a supercharger on there, and I didn't know he was there. And he came up and he was like, leave it. Don't put the tape on. So I untaped him and Bluetooth blowered it all the way through the LZ World Tour, make him a 400 horsepower, just being a happy camper, other than going too slow. So we got back and we were like, okay, well, we need some more beans. So we slapped the supercharger on. Big thanks to Scotty Don't for that. And we made exactly half a pound of boost. And so he swapped these two pulleys around back here and did some magical things with that, and now it's making about 5.5 pounds, and it made 585 horsepower and 560 something foot-pounds of torque on 5 psi. So we're gonna up that a little bit. We're gonna put some gear driven stuff on so you can actually hear the whine, and that's the basics for this engine. It's the cheapest build you could do, and it has literally been ripping since 2018. And then adding the boost in, and it's still ripping. So we'll probably freshen it up a little bit when we're going through the rest of this car. It definitely needs a bath, or 6 or 7 or 12. We used to have this as power steering cooler, which was way overkill, but it was already there for something else, and we used it. So cleaned it out, and now that is the intercooler radiator. And then we have oil cooler here, and now this little guy right there, which is more than enough for what that needs to do. The power steering is severely underdriven, but then we're overdriven, so it ended up being a couple percent less, but it keeps you from killing power steering pumps. Because we're at low boost, we don't throw a lot of belts on the supercharger. Otherwise, custom front end, which we're probably going to be redoing as well. I have redone this a bunch of times, and I'm a fabricator enough to get the job done, but I'm not a professional by any way, shape, or means. But I've made some changes to that. Once again, all the Radium stuff still kicking. Fortunes and GKtech stuff, but you could see the GKtech angle kit and the Fortune coilovers there. They absolutely rule. Full angle kit, GKtech knuckles, LCAs, tie rods, rack relocation stuff. I don't run a sway bar. Probably should. It's in there. I just didn't like the way that it felt for my driving style. So took it out, stock rear sway bar, the little pencil thing, fueled racing headers and swap kit, and oil pan and everything else, which is absolutely killed it this whole time. Can't say enough good things about that, but that's the motor and the front end of the car. There is a slight bash bar under here. You can see part of it sticking out there, but yeah. And there's the bricks. Again, stock water pump now with an electric water pump on top of that. Cooling issues with the radiator in the back. Got the bulkhead fittings, and then those go down through what I just showed you. Now let me open up the trunk. And here we go to the trunk. Fabricated amount for this big water tank with the pump that sprays onto the tires and sprays that way, sprays onto the tires that way, and it also sprays all the way inside the car and loops down into the radiator to give that some cooling. This fuel setup has literally been in the car since I did FD. So we installed this in 2013 and it has done every single event until today when I just drove it to a Cars and Coffee. I street drove this car to Cars and Coffee, and it's insane how good this fuel setup is. I want to keep it exactly how it is, and if I need to put it on a different car, then I can do that. So it's a fuel safe tank with the external Radium surge tank, 2 pumps in here, a Bosch 044 as a feed pump, and that has just worked this whole time. It's 2025. We built it in 2013. You do the math. It's insane how good this fuel system is. I have all new Radium stuff we're going to put in, new cage for that. As you can see, the old cage, well, it's kind of crooked and it's way closer on that side to the fuel cell. That's where the punt happened. So we're going to need to redo most of this rear end and get it back square so that we can put the LFC panels on. These fans have been in there since, but again, it's really hard to work on all that stuff because you can't take it out without taking the glass off and then taking that. So I want to make it so that we can get to the radiator from the back of the car if need be. These bash things that hold the fender to the bumper, they're removable, so we can make new ones of those. And they've done their job fairly well. Again, Fortune and GKtech all throughout the rear of the car. Absolutely fantastic there. But that is the back. We never had a jack point on this car, so later on in life we put a jack point in. Ties into the frame. Seems to work well. It's nice and convenient. It's literally right under the bumper right there. So slide a jack in, jack the car up, do what you need to do, jack the car back down. Just like that. And zipping down to the bottom, rear end wise, which you can't even really see, I have a Frontier rear diff cover on a 350Z diff with 436 gears, which is the tallest you can get for a Z diff. I have 1,000 horsepower axles. I believe they're insane shafts because I kept breaking the 500 horsepower ones at 400 horsepower, so upgraded to the thousands. There's my ridiculously stupid exhaust, which I love, but we lost the tip. It used to be like yay big, and that's fine. That's a Z1 built diff. The gear ratio is pretty good with that T56 Magnum. Just start in second gear. Usually don't have to shift out of third. It's nice. Once you're going, you're going. Runs on E85. I use Boostane E85. It's cut with a little bit of race gas, and it keeps this thing nice and cool, loving life. But yeah, that is my 1989 240 SX in this iteration. The next iteration is going to be all Radium fuel cell. And the best thing I think that we're going to do is we've been on stock ECU this whole time because the car hasn't really been on boost. And now it is pushing the limits of everything with the Maggie on there, even at 5 PSI. So we are going to be changing out to Holley Performance, and those guys jumped on board for the program. We're going to be heavily driving this car at events next year, partnering up with GKtech and really getting out there and just doing some events again. It's been a while since I got to travel with the racetrack, with GKtech, with the stunt driving stuff. There's been a lot going on in my life that's kept me from going to drift events, and all I want to do is go do some skids with my friends. So hopefully we'll be out on the road with this a lot, and it'll be a lot more reliable, clean, wiring wise, and able to actually handle the amount of boost that the Maggie can make. Scotty wants to make like 700. I don't think that's necessary, but it's not going to be up to me what power it makes. I think 650 would be more than enough, but that is that's the plan. So switching everything out, Holley Dominator and Radium stuff, and then this thing should be good to go. Now it's crunch time, and we got to get all that done by August, like 25th or 26th, because that's when the no coast crunch begins. So wish us luck, and I will give updates as we're going through this build. I'll catch you on the flip side. This is just an informational video about this car because I've never done it, and I kind of wanted this just for the memories because this has been the best that this S13 has ever been. A big thank you to 10 Tenths Motorsports, Big thank you to Spec Clutch. Big thank you to Fortune Auto. Big thank you to Status, who is now PRP. Big thank you to Kansai Wheels, Magnuson Superchargers, GKtech USA, S1 Sequential, and Wheel Repair Guys for keeping it mostly one color. So, Officer Dan checking out for now. Oh yeah, and Valino. Sorry, completely forgot about Valino. It's the second biggest sticker on the car. And Whiskey Garage, shameless plug for that. Can't forget the old Pen 15. Yeah, memories. That's all this is for. Maybe my kid will watch this someday and be like, hey, Dad, that was a pretty cool car. You probably shouldn't have touched it. And I'll be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have. But anyway, neither here nor there. Catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.